Does because normally she's just like yeah.
Yeah. Does your friend?
We have a few guests today. Chris, Megan, Vince. Thank you guys for joining with us.
Welcome, friend.
Welcome to the friend. Vince is
He's already part of the group.
yeah.
Oh my gosh, Kyla. Yeah, okay, we may need to do that.
How you doing, Ben?
Good. How are you?
Good, man. You at the church office?
Yep.
Nice.
Can y'all see me from my phone right here?
I saw you. Oh yeah, I can see from the phone. Yeah.
Okay. And then I think I can present from my computer. That's what I'm going to try to do. So
Yeah.
I can still see things on my phone, but then present from you.
That's the way I've done it. That's the best way, I think.
That's true.
We'll give folks a couple more minutes.
I wanted to stay home, but I needed to come here anyway for some other stuff, and it's quiet here on Friday, so it's just better.
So, everybody doing okay?
Yeah.
How you doing, Betsy? Hello.
Good.
Hey, Sarah.
They had on the news this morning, what is that big famous doctor that they're always consulting on?
Fauci? Burks? Lady or the man?
A man.
Fauci, the little guy?
Not him.
Oh, I don't know.
I don't know. Well, anyway, it doesn't matter. Some famous doctor whose name I should remember. He was saying what you were talking about, that they're doing these studies and they are thinking they may be able to confirm that if you're a healthy person without underlying conditions or immunosuppressed, that it's really like statistically not a dangerous virus.
Uh-huh.
So, but he didn't say all of them, of like, if you have these things, then that's when it gets super dangerous, or at least they're hoping to confirm this, I guess.
Sure. Yeah.
One of the things on the list though was being overweight. I was like, well, that's like everybody.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of vague,
Yeah.
but that could be good.
Yeah. I mean, they're
That are coming
if these studies continue to be consistent and show, I mean, they basically estimated that like 20 to 30 million people in the U.S. probably already have had it and have the antibodies. I mean, if just extrapolating the data from the test all out to the entire country, but who knows? Could be just a small little number. But I don't know. Each day I'm less and less worried about it. Just more like frustrated. Like, this better be open when I want to go to the beach this summer. That's kind of what
That's what you're really concerned about.
Same. I completely agree. My dad can't even go to his own beach house in North Carolina because he's a non-resident.
Yeah. Right.
He can go in a couple, I think like May 6th, and whoever fits in his car can go. But
even if he's an owner of the home?
Correct.
Because he's a non-resident. He doesn't live there permanently.
Yeah, that's a huge constitutional issue right there.
Yeah, a lot of people are fighting it. So I read an article yesterday. Someone sued about it. But, it is what it is. He's not.
Because, like, down in the Keys, they have the Keys barricaded. But if you can show that you own property there, they have to let you in.
Yeah. Yeah, North Carolina is kind of unique, I think, of what they've done.
See, I saw that
bank specifically.
I saw that controversial photo. It was on Twitter where people are like, "Oh, the governor went to North Carolina to his beach house. He shouldn't be there."
Oh yeah, but I think they proved that he wasn't going there.
Oh, okay. I just saw the picture.
On TV every single day. Like I can't imagine he scooted down there.
Right.
No.
Let me just take my private jet to the North Carolina outer rinks really quick and come right back.
Yeah, nobody will notice. Hey, Gabrielle. Who else joined? Nance, Teresa, Dag, what's going on? All right, Ben, you about ready? Debbie? Hey, Debbie.
Yep. I'll try.
Where's Dukas? Oh, he's here.
I'm here.
You recording? Okay, cool.
We're recording.
Thank you, sir.
Of course.
All right. Can y'all see that screen?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, you got to click on it, right? Yeah, productivity.
Yes.
All right, let's mute our mics here. So let Ben go. Unless you want an interactive, we'll unmute.
No, we can talk at the end. I'll just go through my little presentation. All right. Today, we are going to talk about productivity. Productivity. We are in a time right now where I sense, because I feel it some days, where we may not be as productive as maybe days in the past. And this world is in, well, however you want to put it, we're in the middle of this virus. We're in this pandemic. Hopefully we're coming out of it soon. But it's very important during this time to stay productive, and especially moving forward from this time. When we do get out of this, we need to make sure that we have good habits in place, that we're staying really very productive. So let's talk about productivity and kind of what it means. There's a few definitions that I pulled up. It's the quality, state, or fact of being able to generate, create, enhance, or bring forth goods and services. It's the state or quality of producing something, especially crops. It's the effectiveness of productive efforts, especially in industry, as measured in terms of the rate of output per unit of input. So you can measure productivity, right? It's something that you can do. It's a quality, it's a state, it's generating, enhancing, it's bringing forth goods and services, but you can measure it. You can measure it, the output versus the input. So this is where I want to branch into the law of averages. The law of averages says that if you do something often enough, a ratio will begin to appear. Does that make sense? In other words, if you talk to 25 people, for example, and one person says yes to an appointment, a ratio will begin to appear. Now you are 1 out of 25. 1 out of 25, or we may say 4%, which is not a bad average, especially if you're new and you're just starting out in prospecting or calling people or nurturing leads, or any of that stuff is kind of new to you. 4% is not too bad. 1 out of 25. You'll notice that once the law of averages starts, it tends to continue. Meaning, if you can call 25 people and one person agrees to meeting with you, sitting down with you, having an appointment, seeing a house, coming over to their house, if you can get one appointment out of 25 conversations, then would you agree that if you talk to 25 more people, you could get one more appointment? And would you agree if you talk to another 25 people, you would probably get one more appointment? This is the law of averages, and it tends to continue. Talk to 25, you can get one more. Talk to 50, you should be able to get 2. Talk to 100, maybe now you can get 5. Why is that? Why would you now maybe be able to get more after you've talked to more people? Well, maybe you're getting a little bit better at converting. So now maybe you're at a 5% versus a 4%. So the more you do this, practice this law of average, the more not only do you develop a conversion rate that you can now see and know what your conversion rate is, but it tends to get better over time. The more you do it, the better you get, and your average tends to go up. Your average will tend to go up. Another way to think about the law of averages, it's often referred to as your conversion rate. Your conversion rate, that's probably what we hear more than the law of averages. It's your conversion rate. And once you know your conversion rate, you then know how many calls, that's supposed to be many, how many calls or reach outs you need. Once you know your conversion rate, once you know how many people it takes for you to get that one appointment, now you have a ratio, now you have a conversion rate. And then you know how many no's you need. And this is when I would plug a good book called Go for No that I know Sarah and me have talked about. It's a good book if you want to look at it, if you want to look it up on Audible or whatever. I highly recommend it. Basically, it's telling you to change your mindset and start realizing how many no's you need to get to the yes. So if your conversion rate, the law of averages, if you're 1 out of 25, then that means you need 24 no's in order to get to a yes. That's it. Just 24 no's. Do you think you could get told no 24 times in a day? And the answer is yes. You could easily get told 24 times no in one day if you were productive. Here's another great thing about the law of averages. What you lack in skills or experience, you can make up in numbers. So it might be a top agent in the brokerage, it might be a top agent on your team, and he can get like 5 appointments in a week. And you're just like, wow, if I could get 5 appointments in a week, and you start running the numbers, how much you could make and how many closings you can get, you're thinking, wow, one day I would like to get 5 appointments in a week. The way you should be looking at it is, I can get more than 5 appointments in a week, because he may call 200 people to get 5 appointments that week, and then he's going to stop. You could call 500 people and get 6 appointments in a week. You know what I'm saying? It's a numbers game. So what you lack in skills, if you're not quite as good as converting people on the phone, in person, on appointments, into closed transactions, then you just need to talk to more people until your skill level comes up. You can beat the top producer by setting more appointments and getting more closings, because it's the law of averages. And as long as you know what your average is, you can be successful. I mean, think about it like this. Batting averages in baseball are usually in hundreds, 200, 300, 350. How much money do you think a baseball player that has like a 300 batting average makes? I don't know exactly, but it's in the millions. In the millions. And he strikes out 7 out of 10 times. Strikes out, like doesn't do good, doesn't get a hit, fails 7 out of 10 times, makes millions for the 3 times he does. Could you get up to that 300 average? So there's a story, a parable in the Bible that I want to use to kind of introduce this subject to you today, because I want to kind of break this down to simple terms, to things that we can understand, just like Jesus did in the Bible. He used a lot of stories, a lot of parables to make it plain. So there's the famous story, you may have heard of it. It's called the sower and the seed. The seed, the soil, the sower. It's in Matthew chapter 13. If you're not familiar with it, it's a great story to read. One thing we know, the main thing we know about this story is there was a sower. And we know a couple things about this sower. We know he had good seed. If you read the whole story, you know he had excellent seed. He had good seed that did produce a harvest. Another thing we know is he was ambitious. I mean, he was persistent, determined. He was a go-getter. He was ambitious and very productive. So as the story goes, he starts throwing out some seed, and some of the seed fell by the wayside, or in this example, they call it the path, but some fell by the wayside. Not in the field, not in the good soil, but off the path, off the beaten path, off the farmland, you know, where the seed is intended to go. Some fell by the wayside. And the story says that the birds came and devoured them. And here's what you got to understand about the birds. The birds are going to get some, right? The birds are going to get some. What does that mean? Okay, well, you call a lead, a buyer lead, right? You set up a buyer consultation or you set up a showing and they don't show up. The birds are going to get some. Somebody distracted them. Somebody referred them to another agent. Somebody told them it's not a good time to buy. Somebody told them you should just keep renting, and they didn't show up. Same thing with sellers. You schedule an appointment to go talk to a seller to potentially view their home, list their home, and they cancel the appointment. The birds are going to get some because maybe their friend recommended another agent. Maybe their friend said this isn't a good time to sell. Now here's what you can do. You can go chasing birds. You can go chase these people that deterred them and distracted them and recommended somebody else, and you can spend your time saying, I'm going to get even with this person that took my client, my prospect, a different direction. But if you do that, then you're leaving the field. And if you leave the field, it's going to distract from your future, not add to it. We can't go chasing birds. We just can't go chasing birds. So here's what happened in the story. This is what the sower did. Instead of chasing the birds, he kept on sowing. He kept on sowing. And then the story goes on to say that some seed fell on rocky soil, and it instantly sprang up, but it didn't have a deep root. And so as soon as it sprang up, the first hot day, the first hot sun that hit it, scorched it, and it withered away. Here's what we got to realize. The heat will wither some. The heat, the pressure, the hot air will wither some. You might start working with a buyer. You might go on that buyer consultation or show that house, and they get all excited and they love the house and they're talking about maybe we can put in an offer, and they're excited about the buyer consultation and working with you and going to look for houses. And then you find out they have no credit. And then you find out they don't have any money. And they really want to buy and they're excited and they jump into it. But then finances wither away. The heat will wither some. And maybe it's a seller and you go on that listing appointment and you go view the home and you make a good connection and they're excited and they like you and you built rapport and you petted the dog and you remembered the kids' names and you thought you made a great connection. But then next time you talk to them, they have a problem about the commission or your price or your staging recommendation, and the heat, the pressure of selling withers them away. So you got to understand something. This is something you could write down. Discipline your disappointment. Learn to discipline your disappointments because you're going to get disappointed in this business. Most of you would agree. But here's what the sower did. He just kept on sowing, right? He didn't get hung up on the deal. He didn't get hung up on the seed that went out that didn't produce what he thought it was going to produce, because you can spend a lot of time beating yourself up and wondering, what did I do wrong? And I thought they liked me, and I thought they had good credit, and I thought they said they got pre-qualified, or you can just keep on sowing. I'm not saying ignore these people. Keep them in your system. Keep checking on them. But I'm saying don't get stuck and hung up on the ones that get away. We have to keep on sowing. So the story goes on. It's a great story. Don't y'all love this story? It's a great story. Story goes on to say that the sower kept sowing, and now some fell among thorns. Once again, it started to grow and it broke surface and it's growing, but it's among all these thorns, these cares of this world, as the Bible calls it. And those thorns that sprang up alongside this beautiful plant, flower, choked it. So here's something else you got to know. The thorns are going to choke some. The thorns are going to choke some of your prospects. they're going to choke them. You know, maybe you were working with that buyer and you're starting through the process. You had a good connection with them. You showed them a house. You met with them. You explained everything. And then the cares of this world creep in and they start to think, maybe it's better to rent right now than buy. Maybe it's too risky for me to put all this money down on this house when I'm not really sure if it's the right house for me. Or maybe this coronavirus has got me a little worried to buy a house right now. And with sellers, maybe the seller can't find the right house. You know, maybe they watch too much HGTV and they just haven't been able to find that perfect 4-bedroom, open concept, granite counters, 9-foot ceiling, swimming pool out back, double French doors, garage door. Maybe they just can't find what they're looking for because they have this this expectation that's just not logical, practical. And so the cares of this world creep in, or maybe the coronavirus creeps in on them too. And they think, you know what? I'm a little worried about people coming to my house and this is just not the best time to sell. The thorns, the cares of this world are going to get some. And once again, you can get hung up on these people and you can keep trying to pressure these people and keep trying to push these people and get distracted just focusing on these people. Or you can realize you can't help everyone. Not today. You may be able to help them another day, but you can't help everyone. So what does a sower do? Kept on sowing. I hope this point is really starting to seep in about this story, because I used to think this story was about all the different kinds of grounds, and it is. And a lot of preachers preach this on the grounds. But what I really think this story is truly about is the sower. Now in the story, we know the sower is God, and he's sowing his word, and a lot of us don't receive his word, and a lot of us, reject it, and some receive it and they get excited about it, but then they go back and they're lukewarm and they're bouncing back and forth. We understand that. But this sower, this ambitious sower, doesn't discriminate. This ambitious sower doesn't look at good soil or bad soil. He doesn't judge where we are. He doesn't look at our finances. He doesn't look at where we live. He doesn't look at what side of the tracks we live on. He just keeps sowing everywhere to everyone, understanding that the law of averages is at work, and eventually some of his seed is going to fall on good ground. Some of the seed, if you just keep diligently, persistently, ambitiously, productively sowing, eventually, it's the law of averages, eventually, the seed, the offer, the service, your product will fall on good ground. It just will. But if you offer your service long enough, eventually it will fall on good people. What are good people in this story? Qualified, motivated, ready to buy or sell, and ready to hire you. Those are the hot prospects, maybe we would call it in our industry, right? Keep on sowing. Eventually, you will find the hot prospects. So here's some keys. We've kind of gone through some keys to productivity. Number 1, get strength. Man, has there been no time in history that we know of where we needed God's strength? Has there ever been a time before where we've been secluded, where we've been quarantined, where we've had to stay in our house, where we've had to self-motivate, encourage ourselves to keep being productive and keep moving forward and keep doing business? Even though the world might be crashing down, even though people are putting fear in you, even though things don't look good out there, Can you keep productive in your mind? Can you keep moving forward? Is your why big enough, like Katarina spoke about, to where you can be motivated enough to keep doing what you need to do day in and day out to work your job, your profession, your career? Or are you getting distracted? Is your service falling on the wayside? Is your service and your offer falling on places that it doesn't need to be? Are you wasting time on things that aren't productive? We got to seek the Lord and his strength, because we need strength right now more than anything. So number one, get strength. Number two, get serious. This is not the time to mess around. This is not the time to take a day off. This is not the time to kick your feet up and watch Netflix and eat bonbons all day. This is the time to get serious, because when this thing turns around,
preach it.
thank you.
I keep telling myself I want to sit around and eat bonbons and go for walks and watch TV. So I needed to hear that.
Oh, good. Yes, time to get serious, because when this thing turns around, whoever's ready is going to go. Whoever's not is going to get left behind. When you're at work, what's your work schedule? How many hours are you committing to your job on a daily basis? Are you working at work, or are you playing at work? And that flips around too. And this is where I struggle, if I'm honest, is when you're at play. When you're with the family, be with the family. But when you're at work, put everything you can into working. Don't mix the two. Number one, get strength. Number two, get serious. And number three, get smart. This is a great time to learn. This is a great time to work on your craft. This is a great time to work on you. If you want things to change in your life, it starts with you. This gets into the self-education, the personal development. There has never been a greater time in history, in life, where we have an opportunity to slow down, to get off the treadmill, as Francis Chan said, to realize where we've been going, and maybe we've been spinning our wheels going in different directions, and focus on the Lord and focus on what we need to be doing, where we need to be going, what we need to be learning, how we can grow, and how we can become more valuable. More valuable. If you can become more valuable, you can help more people. If you can become more valuable, you can close more deals. If you can become more valuable, you can provide more for your family. If you become more valuable, you can eventually reach financial freedom if that's one of your goals. But it starts with you getting smart. And to get smart, you got to read, you got to learn, you got to observe, you got to watch things, you got to learn from mistakes and past failures. You can learn from people's success and from people's failures if you're smart. And you got to increase your averages, right? During this time, you practice on your conversions. You practice on the things that you've learned. You start implementing them, and you can increase your averages. Number one, get strength. Number two, get serious. Number three, get smart. And number four, get started. It's really that simple. It's time to get started. Maybe you've taken a little break, over the last week, 2 month, whatever. That's all cool. We all deserve a break. We all deserve a vacation. But you know what? Today is the day to get started. Don't put off until tomorrow what you can do today. I can't tell you how many days I've said, you know what, I'll start that tomorrow. You know what, I'm going to do that tomorrow. I'm going to call that person tomorrow. I'm going to push it off my to-do list today to tomorrow because I'm a little busy with other things today. And I'd rather just make my calls tomorrow, and then tomorrow comes, and then you find another reason to push them to maybe next week, because they really did say they don't want to be called for another month or two. And so you start pushing things off till tomorrow, and your productivity goes way down. And guess what? Also, your averages, your conversion rate also goes down, because now you're not practicing, you're not calling as many people, your appointment settings go down, everything starts to go down because you're putting things off. It's procrastination. You're procrastinating instead of being productive. Talking about productivity. Productivity. These are some keys, I think, to productivity. You know, one little thing I'll throw in that I didn't put in my slides is there's marketing and there's selling. And if you look into any big business, you'll see that they do both very well. They sell very well and they market very well. And so a lot of times realtors are good at one or the other, but a lot of times we're not good at both. There's a lot of people that are great at branding themselves and marketing themselves, and they're putting out stuff on Facebook, and they're shooting all these videos, and they're taking selfies of them in front of big houses with Teslas and stuff. You know what I'm saying, right? They're branding, they're great at marketing, and they got the look, they're pretty, they put on the makeup, they put on the face, the boom, boom, boom. But they're not so great at selling, because really all they care about is their image and how they look and what they want to be perceived as, versus really solving people's problems. And then you got some people that are great at selling, and, you know, they can have a conversation, they can handle objections, they can give people solutions, they're a problem solver, but they don't really like doing videos, and you don't really see them much on Facebook, and they're not ever promoting themselves or anything, because, you know, they don't like talking on camera, and the thought of doing a Facebook Live is like the scariest thing. And so they're great at selling, not so great at marketing. But I would encourage you to do both, because I feel like both is so needed. And so in the story of the sower and the seed, I would say the sower sowing seed everywhere is marketing, right? Think of that as marketing. He's casting out a big net. He's throwing seed everywhere. He's putting it everywhere. I mean, avenues, wayside, in the spaces. He's on social media. He's on LinkedIn. Like, he's everywhere sowing his seed, trying to reach that one out of the hundreds that actually need his service. That's marketing. But then when he finds that person, when he finds that good ground, that person that's qualified, that's ready to go, that actually has the motivation to buy or sell and wants to hire him, now selling comes in. So I think both are really important in productivity, because the marketing supports and sets up the sale. And so without one, I don't think the other does very well. So to stay productive, in my final thoughts here, we need to sow seed. We need to keep sowing, keep putting out the feelers, keep putting out the offers, keep putting out the branding, keep putting out the service, keep offering and doing the marketing. And when you find somebody that's qualified, when you find somebody that actually needs your help, that's when you go into the sales. That's when you solve problems. That's when you listen. That's when you do all the things that we've talked about on this training. But it starts with sowing. And so today is the day to get started and start sowing. These are keys to productivity. Keys to productivity.
Nice.
That was awesome.
Ben is the man.
Wow. Thank you.
I can relate though, Ben, because I feel like a lot of it, you mentioned like your whole thing was about productivity and not slowing down, like not stopping, right? Like not giving up. And I feel like I had a client back in January who I put in, we basically ended up firing each other, but We worked together for a straight month looking at homes, putting offers in, and getting nothing. And I kept trying to say, like, hey, we can get one. We'll get one. It's just he had unrealistic offers and, you know, things like that. So it was never going to work. But, you know, after that, I was like super defeated for a few weeks. I was like, is this how it's always going to be? Like, is this going to stink all the time? And then, of course, like you guys and Kat and Daniel and everyone was like, no, it's going to get so much better. And then it got so much better. So I can 100% relate because I was so defeated after that guy. I was like, this is not going to work if this is how it's going to be. But I think that relates. Like, that's how I related 100% to your whole sermon, if you will.
Thank you. Yes. You can easily get distracted and get caught up in one bad deal, one bad client can totally throw you off. And the birds, you start chasing birds. And we all can relate to that, I think.
Yeah, I love the analogy with the baseball averages that the guy that's hitting 3 out of 10, or in other words, getting out 7 out of 10 times is like one of the best players in baseball. You know, if you have like a lifetime 300 average, you're like, you know, the top 10% of all baseball players. And they're the best. And then, you know, it's all about knowing your averages, because if you come in and let's say you knew nothing about baseball and, you know, what was expected, but you attempted it and then you became a baseball player and then you got out 7 out of 10 times, you think, well, I stink at this, you know, I'm not good at it. So it's knowing these numbers is important, and you know, applying it to our business and, you know, internet lead generation. Depending on the lead source, we know that, you know, if you can get 1 out of 50 to close, you're doing pretty good. You know, some of them are 1 out of 30. And so what that helps, I think, is when you have 10 strikeouts, you're not like, oh, this sucks, or these leads suck, or I suck, or whatever. You just know you haven't gotten enough attempts, you know, to see it come through. And knowing the averages is important, I think. And you know, the seed of the sower is so important, you know, applied to what is going on, Rachel? All of a sudden I just saw this out of your mouth.
I'm sorry. I'm waving to my neighbors. I live on a main road and I get to.
It scared me. It's all right. Sorry.
It's prospecting.
That is prospecting, waving to neighbors. But the, you know, the you know, scripture, you know, the parable what Jesus gave is important too, because it's easy to get discouraged when you share the gospel with somebody, or you're trying to, you know, encourage people, and some people just don't follow the path that you're, you know, laying out for them, or the guidance that you're giving them, or whatever. And then knowing your numbers, like, shoot, he's basically saying 1 out of 4 of those people are going to receive what you got to tell them. So I think it's important. It's awesome knowing knowing the numbers, knowing the averages.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
I see Vincent on here. I'm so excited.
I appreciate it. Happy to be here.
Vince, I did not see you before. Now I'm really pumped. Okay. Can I say something else? Because I have to talk at every single chance I can.
Yes.
I stayed up very late last night going back to my 2020 goal sheet, because I haven't finished it yet. And it's taking me a really long time because I need to know exactly how much money I need. I had to go back to not only my why, but I really needed to remotivate myself based on the amount of my goals, the money that I absolutely need for my family is crucial in the difference between me wanting to call somebody and most likely possibly getting rejected or not. Like, my family's depends on it. My kids' college, their teeth, our groceries. This is crucial. If you're not motivated by something important, then why call people? Why are you doing it? And because I hate being rejected on the phone. That's my number one thing. I hate it. But you know what I hate more? Not being able to provide for my family. I hate that more. So that is really helping me to like really look at the numbers and say, I desperately need, you know, whatever amount per month. And I'm going to make it happen I'm going to try as hard as I possibly can to make it happen through prayer and hard work. I don't know if that'll help anybody else, but like go back to your numbers if you're feeling unmotivated, because it's important.
Yeah. Yeah, you got to revisit
like
that sheet. Go for it, Ben.
Like Daniel said, knowing the numbers is huge. Once you know those numbers, then really it takes a lot of the emotion out of it, because now all you're doing is a job in a sense. I mean, you're helping people, but now you know the numbers. So now if you know that I need 24 people to say no, to hang up, to say not interested, to say keep just looking, don't call me anymore, to find the one person that actually does need my help, then that's okay. Now you're searching for 24 people to say no. That's your goal today. Find, if that's your average, 1 out of 25, which is pretty good. Find 24 people that don't need your help. And that's okay if they don't need your help. Maybe one day they will. Maybe they didn't mean to click on it. Maybe they're just having a bad day. But if you need 24, your mentality is, hey, I just need you to be either the 1 or the 24. Which one are you? Are you the yes that I need today? Or are you the one of the 24 no's? Because either one is fine. Because I need 24 and I need the 1. Like, I need 25 people. It's whatever category you want to be in. It's your choice. I'm here to offer you and ask you a question. Do you need assistance buying or selling real estate this year? Either one is okay. It's okay to say no, because I need the no's as much as I need the yes. Does that make
You want
sense?
to buy or not? Tell them.
Getting excited over here.
No, it's true. I mean, you know, you gotta get people to say no. And I heard a podcast the other day, it was a while ago, about lead generation, and it's like we have a tendency to be scared to get that no, so we put it off, we prolong it. Maybe, you know, let's say we get a lead, we call them day 1, and then we're like scared to call them again and whatever. But they're like, call them 3 times. You know, that I think they called it like war dialing or something. Just like boom, boom, boom. If they don't answer, they said, because the quicker you can get them on the phone to tell you no, the less time you're going to waste extrapolated over whatever, a few weeks to actually get them on the phone. So your best chance of getting someone on the phone is first day, within the first few minutes. And they say call them, boom, boom, boom. And then when they say no, you're like, okay, cool. I'm going to put you in this category on my CRM, and I'm not going to, you know, waste time trying to pursue and get you on the phone and qualify and all that stuff. So the quicker you get a no, the less time you waste, really.
And you're being more productive.
Yeah. Yeah.
By learning that sooner than later. You're not wasting time.
Yeah, exactly.
Sowing to soil that's not ready to produce.
Bad soil.
Bad
Don't
soil.
sow too early. I learned that my tomato plants all died. I'm a novice, and they all died. I don't know how that applies to this, but
Bad season. There's seasons in life. That would be a whole nother subject.
yeah, different. It's just the wrong season. That's right. The right seeds in the wrong season won't produce fruit. So, yeah, there's a lesson there.
A nurturing analogy. You should put those seeds in pots first and nurture them in your house, and then plant them in the garden.
That's true. That's what my dad, who has, you know, decades of experience, tried to tell me. But I was like, oh no, the instructions on the bag say I can plant in April in Virginia, and so I did it.
You're outside.
And then frost comes and it's dead. Cool. Well, thanks, Dan. Appreciate it, man. Thanks for everybody that's joined in. Any other final comments, thoughts, questions? Cool, dude. Well, we'll get this recording. Anybody that wants it, we'll send it on. Appreciate you guys. So Monday, we'll be back on Monday. I don't know who's on. I have to look at the schedule. Does anybody know who's speaking Monday? I have no idea.
You know,
We'll check it.
I think it's the two Rachels and you next week.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, Debbie's going to take my spot on Friday. She's going to talk about. Debbie did in her master's class, I believe, a whole study on our company. So I'm like, hey, we all need to see this. It's like a 35-page document. It's pretty amazing on marketing and growing, and she's going to condense that and turn it into something pretty cool for all of us to learn from. So I'm excited about that. All right, cool guys. Well, good to see our guests, Gabrielle, Megan, Vince. Thank y'all for coming.
Thanks again for having me.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
See you guys. Peace out.
See ya.
Have a good
All right.
Bye.